right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, and probably the bulk of this video, is going to be a Tampa Pro preview. The competitor list for the 2025 Tampa Pro this weekend just got released, and there's quite a few names on here, and there are some names that really stand out to me as what I would consider to be surprising on here. So let's go through this list and we'll talk about it. Brandon Alexander, Lionel Beyeke is in this lineup, which we haven't seen compete, I think, in about 2 years now. We'll talk about him in a second. Prince Bobang, Christian Caldwell, Alfonso Cromartie, John Delarosa, Quint Beastwood, Jordan Hutchinson, also in this lineup, Anthony Gell, John Jewitt, also in this lineup. I think that's kind of a surprising one. Morgan McDonald, Chris Massaro, Patrick Moore, Bruno Santos, Emir Omaragic, Matt O'Reilly, Joseph Palacios, Bridger Pollock, Yun Long Peen, Justin Savoy, Justin Shier, and Stuart Sutherland Beef Stew. So I really like this lineup. There's not the biggest names here, but there's a lot of guys here that are young, up-and-coming guys, and I think this is going to be a pretty competitive show. I think you're not going to have one clear standout guy that's just winning this thing by a mile. I think this is going to be a very competitive first call-out. And I think the length of this lineup is refreshing to see. We've seen some kind of smaller lineups this year, and I think the fact that we've kind of had this 2-week hiatus with there being no open bodybuilding shows, and the fact that we're now getting closer to the Olympia in October, the number of shows left to compete in to try to qualify is running a little bit slim. So first, I want to talk about Lionel Beyeke. There's really nothing recent at all on his social media. A lot of it is just, most of it now is just kind of Christianity-type post. But this is the last show that Lionel Beyeke competed in. This was back in 2023, the Mr. Big Evolution, where Lionel Beyeke took 9th. And I think you can tell by these pictures he was not in the best shape at this show. Not the most impressive version of Lionel by a long shot. And prior to that, within the last 5 years, he's only done one other show, and that was in 2020, and that was the Romania Muscle Fest where he took 5th. So in the last half a decade, we've only seen Lionel Beyeke compete twice. This will be the third time, which is why I say I'm surprised to see his name on this lineup. We really don't hear much about Lionel these days. But at one point in his career, he was one of the bigger names. He was top 10 at the Olympia a couple of times. He was first call-out at the Arnold. He never won any of the really big titles like an Arnold or an Olympia, but certainly like a decade ago, probably like 2013, 14, somewhere in that range, he was in the conversation. And I believe the most recent like big placing that Lionel had was 2018. At the 2018 Arnold Classic Ohio, he was top 6, and I think that was probably his most recent really big placing. So it's obvious we haven't seen much of him. So I'm kind of surprised to see him in this lineup. I'm curious to see how he's going to look. My expectations, to be honest, are kind of low just based on the last time that we saw him on stage. And he's getting a little bit up there in age. He's 44 years old now. So like I said, not expecting much, but I am kind of curious to see how he's going to look here. Now, the next guy I want to talk about here that I think changes the game a little bit with him being in this lineup, John Jewitt. John Jewitt being in this lineup, I think he kind of becomes the favorite. Not like a slam dunk favorite, because I think this is going to be a highly competitive lineup, but John is in kind of a different category than most of the guys in this lineup because of the fact that he's recently won a show, last year's Vancouver Pro, and he got to the Olympia, but not only did he get to the Olympia, he was 11th, which is a pretty solid Olympia placing for your first Open Olympia ever. That was pretty impressive, and I think that's more than you can say for almost anybody in this lineup. We just talked about Lionel, but that was a decade ago that he was top 10 at the Olympia. Patrick Moore, of course, is in this lineup, and he's been a top 10 Olympian. But as far as recent pretty high Olympia placings and recent professional wins, I think John Jewitt is kind of standing out ahead of the pack here, and this is the most recent update from John that we're looking at here. Obviously known for his conditioning. He comes from 212, had a really successful transition from 212 to open. I think he does kind of become one of the favorites, if not the favorite in this lineup, just based on his recent contest history, based on what we've seen from him lately. An 11th place recent Olympian, especially with the way the Olympia has been lately, how deep the Olympia lineup is. I think everybody that places after 10th kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. But to be 11th in some of the lineups that we've had recently, especially like 2024, you're beating still some of the best bodybuilders in the world even to get that 11th place placing. And I think notably, I think this is applicable especially to this lineup, John Jewitt with 11th place at the Olympia last year beat John Delarosa, who's in this lineup, took 12th at the Olympia. Bruno Santos, who is in this lineup, took 13th at the Olympia. And those are two of the guys that I would say are on the upper echelon of this lineup. John beat them at the O. Now, John Delarosa, I just took a quick look at his page. I don't see any recent physique updates over there, but what I can say, last year at the Olympia, he was 12th, and he actually won last year's Tampa Pro. So I can show you some pictures of him from last year's Tampa show. Because technically, for the sake of this show, he is the returning, defending Tampa Pro champion, albeit the lineup last year wasn't quite on the level of the lineup this year. I think this lineup is a really, really solid one. Looking at last year's lineup, which John Delarosa won, Mo Fuda was in second, so Mo's a pretty good bodybuilder. Jordan Hutchinson was also here last year. He took third, so that's your top three. Vlad Sukaruchka was fourth, Louis Breed fifth, Sarhan in sixth. I think this lineup this year is slightly deeper. Actually, I would say significantly deeper, because you've got several guys on here that have won shows and been to the Olympia, which was not the case last year, or at least not as many last year. But I do think it's worth pointing out that John Delarosa is technically the returning defending Tampa Pro champ from 2024, and he was top 12 at the Olympia last year. Now, next up, you've got Quint Beastwood. You guys know he's one of my favorite guys in this lineup as far as just his overall physique, his structure. Really, really talented guy with a lot of potential. And I would put him in a different category than some of these other guys because, like, what we're talking about a lot here is contest history, past professional wins, recent professional wins, Olympia placings. I think Quinton is kind of in this category where he's, like, right there. He's right on the edge of finally winning that first pro show. Last year, he was runner-up in Toronto. He was top 6 at the New York Pro. 2 years prior in 2022, he was 5th in Texas, and then he was 3rd at the Tampa Pro in 2022. 2nd in Toronto in 21, 5th in Romania, 21. He's still looking for that first professional win, and I feel like it could be a show like this where he is able to do that. Now, with Quinton, I've already said it in a couple of videos. I think the two things are his conditioning and it's going to be his back. How does he compare with these guys from the back, and how does he compare with them conditioning-wise? He looks to me like he's made improvements since the last time that we saw him on stage, particularly to his lower body. His quads, to me, look significantly bigger. He'll probably have one of, if not the best structures in this lineup, and he's probably going to be the biggest guy in this lineup. A lot of the guys that we've talked about so far, especially the front runners, are a lot shorter guys. John Jewitt, John Delarosa. And I say that to say I think Quinton is really going to stand out in this lineup. It's just a question of, will he be in shape? Now, another guy that I would put into a similar category as I would Quint Beastwood, Jordan Hutchinson. Another kind of young, newer up-and-comer. At last year's Tampa Pro, he was 3rd. At last year's Chicago Pro, he was 5th. But I think the biggest accolade that he has, in my opinion, is the 2024 Texas Pro, where he was 2nd, but he was 2nd to Andrew Jacked. And that was the last show that he did. That was August 10th of 2024. And that's pretty big for a relatively newer guy. I believe that would have only been his 4th pro show. Now, he hasn't won a pro show yet, but I think he's in a similar category as Quinton as far as he's like right on the edge of potentially doing that. And looking at these recent updates that he posted, and by the way, most of the updates that we're looking at in this video are going to be from today, so less than a week out from the show. He looks really impressive here. His conditioning looks on point. He looks bigger than a lot of the guys in this lineup. He looks bigger than the last time we saw him on stage. You've got really deep striations in the chest, very vascular, striated glutes. Just, he looks great in these updates. I think he's going to be a real guy to watch for here. You look at some of those side shots, you can see the serratus and the obliques are dialed in. The guy looks great here. I think he's got a real shot at potentially winning this show. But definitely now that Jordan is in this lineup, looking at these recent updates from him, I think he's definitely one of the front runners here for sure. Now, next up, you've also got Beef Stew, another update posted from him today. He actually sent me this earlier today. And again, when it comes to conditioning, I'd say Stu is probably one of the more conditioned guys that we've seen in this lineup so far. Probably in that same category as John Jewitt, Jordan Hutchinson. I think Stu looks great in this update. Very dry, very detailed, big. I think we're going to need to see improvement from last year for him to do well at this show, which it looks like we are seeing in these physique updates. Last year at Vancouver, he was 5th. That was the show that John Jewitt actually won. Definitely not his best showing there because Vancouver certainly wasn't the deepest lineup. 4th in Cali last year. 4th at the New York Pro last year, which was pretty solid. And I think that, you know, he's also in this category. There's a lot of guys. Like I said, I think this is going to be a very competitive lineup, probably a very competitive first call-out. There's a lot of guys here that have not yet won a pro show that feel like they're right on the edge of that first pro win. And they're probably in a similar category as some of the guys that have even been to the Olympia but have been outside of the top 10. It's a very even playing field type of feel to this lineup. And frankly, I'm rooting for all these guys that have not yet won a show to win this one. That's why I think we're going to get a highly competitive show here. I think you got a real chance at somebody that maybe hasn't won yet winning this thing. But you've also got Patrick Moore. Patrick Moore started out the season with not the best showing at the Cali Pro. Improved a lot for the Legion show where he took top 2. He was able to beat Bruno Santos, who we'll talk about in a second. This is the latest physique update from Patrick Moore. He hasn't really posted anything super revealing going into this show. Like going into the Legion show, he was posting a lot of physique updates, a lot of side-by-sides from his prep for Cali, showing off the progress he was making. We haven't seen much of that going into this show yet. It's been a couple gym selfies, a couple training videos, things of that nature, but like no full physique updates. And again, kind of another reason why I feel this is going to be such a competitive lineup, because I feel like typically a show like this, based on the showing that Patrick just had, you could argue that Patrick would be one of the favorites going into this show, but looking at this lineup, I don't know if that's the case. Now, you've also got Emir Omaragic in this lineup. Emir had a pretty busy 2024. He did 6 shows. He was top 3 in 5 of the 6 shows. The Spain show, Romania, Mr. Big Evolution, the Italy show, the Cali Pro, and then 9th at the New York Pro. Now, I haven't seen anything recent from Emir except for the start of his prep, which was months ago at this point. So I haven't seen any recent physique updates of him like close to this Tampa show. But he's always a threat here too. Like I said, 5 top 3 finishes out of 6 shows that he did in 2024. Looking to qualify for the Olympia this year in Tampa. This so far will be his only 2025 show. But I think that he's definitely a threat here too. It's just hard to say. We have no idea how he's looking because we haven't seen anything recent except for this video, which was the beginning of his prep. Obviously, you know, not even close to how he's going to look on stage. And then, of course, last but not least, you've got Bruno Santos. This is a big standout for me here. Obviously, the most recent show, the one that Neckzilla won, the Portugal Pro. Bruno was 2nd, but the impressive thing about that was that he beat Nathan Diasha for that 2nd place spot. He was top 3 at Legion, where Patrick Moore beat him there. He was 4th in the Cali. Those were his 2025 shows. And, of course, last year at the Olympia, he was 13th. So he won a show last year, got to the Olympia, competed, and placed 13th. So he's got that as a kind of a feather in his cap in this lineup. I don't know where he's going to fall here. It's interesting because beating Nathan Diasha, I think, is huge. Probably one of his best looks to date at that show. But I think he's probably going to do pretty well here. If I had to give my picks for a top 6 out of this lineup, I'm trying to see if there's any names that I'm kind of leaving out of my predictions here. Actually, there is Justin Shier. I totally left him out of here. Yeah, this is a really competitive lineup. Here's the latest update from Justin Shier. I think he looks like he's in really good shape. He looks big. He looks impressive. His best placings include last year winning the 2023, winning the Chicago Pro, and then the 2023 Mr. Olympia. He competed. He was 15th. He looks improved here. I was looking back at some of the pictures from the 2023 Mr. Olympia, and these pictures that he posted as far as his updates for Tampa, He looks bigger, especially in the lower body. So he looks improved, but like I said, this is a lineup of a lot of young up-and-coming guys. There's a lot of guys in this lineup that have turned pro only in the last few years. There's a lot of guys in this lineup that have never won a pro show and are seemingly right on the verge of doing so. There's a lot of guys that have only won just one pro show, and maybe they can or cannot do it again. But if I go back and look at this lineup and I had to pick a top 6, like a first call-out, I feel like I'd have to do it in no particular order. I'd go with John Jewitt would be in my top 6. John Delarosa, Jordan Hutchinson, Quint Beastwood, Beef Stew, and I'm gonna go Patrick Moore in no particular order. That's my top 6. Let me know your guys' top 6 in the comments down below. This is a hell of a Tampa Pro lineup. I think this is a stacked lineup. It's going to be highly competitive, and good luck guessing who's going to win this show. I really have no idea. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. That's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.